The tears of a narcissist. Another tool, another trick, another trap. Crying tears from a narcissist are pretty meaningless. And I say that because I read an article from one of the narcissism boards that broke down, reasons why the narcissist cries and how it's always a trick, a trap, because the narcissist only feels for themselves. The narcissist can only really cry for themselves. And when they cry for themselves, it's not really crying. What they are doing is using their tears or their crying, because you can't even call them tears. If you ever notice your abuser, when your abuser cries, when you are engaged in a conflict with them, if you ever notice, there's never any tears when they're crying. Take my mother, for example. Again, I go back to phone call from narcissistic mother. The way she can go from rage to sweet to crying back to rage. They're all tools of the narcissist. Every emotion is a tool to be used when they need it to gain advantage over whoever they're having conflict with. And this is a trick both my parents used on me, on other people, on authorities. My mother is the master at it. My father's pretty good at it too. My mother being a borderline and being a full-blown borderline where, she never had any self-control ever whatsoever. And I've spoken about my mother could get into an argument with anybody at any time. Didn't matter over what. If she felt she was in the right and the other person was in the wrong, that was it. It was on. And it didn't matter if it was over a parking spot or somebody stepped in line in the bank. She would stand there and have full arguments to the point where I remember one time she got into a fight with a woman at the Howard Bank. That used to be a local bank in New Jersey, the Howard. In the Howard Bank parking lot over a parking spot. Now, mind you, I was a little kid. I don't even think I was in kindergarten yet. So I was maybe 3.5, 4 years old. And I remember I was in the back of the car, and at the time, you didn't have to have car seats back then in the 70s. And when you were a little kid, you used to stand up in the back, look over the seat, and while your parents drove, that's just the way it was. And my mother got into a fight. I'll never forget. It was this old woman in this yellow Plymouth Valiant or Plymouth Duster, and they were both fighting for the same parking spot. But there were two empty spots. So instead of my mother, I said, "Mom, just go to the other." No, this is my. And they got out of the car, got to the point where the woman locked herself in the car and started blowing on the horn. But this is the 70s. It's not like there's cell phones or anything. Just started blowing on the horn. And lo and behold, a couple of Hasbrook Heights police cars show up. And all of a sudden, my mother starts crying. Oh my God, this woman tried to assault me with the car. I have my little boy in the car. Oh my God, this old crazy woman. And I'm like, that's not what happened. And she's like, shut up, shut up. So the police shoo the old woman away. My mother pulls in to the parking spot, pulls into the same park, and we go into the bank. And I'm online at the bank. I'm like, my, that's not what she's like. Shh, we won. What did we win? And as we were coming out, now the old lady's coming in, and my mother points right and is like, points right in the old woman's face, like, you see, you old hag, you see. And we walked and got in the car, drove off, went home, told my father, like they thought, oh yeah, it's like it was a funny story. My mother would also get into road rage incidents on the highway all the time. This woman would get into fights with truck drivers. And my mother they always had fast cars. And the time, and they actually still have this car because they bought it original. It was a 1970 Ford Mustang fastback with a 302 8-cylinder engine. My mother was driving. And once again, we're going up the highway. And all of a sudden, my mother had this thing. They cut me off. They cut me off. They cut me off. So if somebody cut her off, she'd downshift, start blowing the horn, flip them off, cut in front of them. But she had this thing with this truck driver, because when she did it, she pulled alongside, and the truck driver flipped her off back. And for some reason, flipping the bird on my mother's side of the family, it's like waving red in front of a bull. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So my mother now downshifts the car, speeds up, and starts slamming on. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? She's like, we're gonna jackknife him. We're gonna jackknife him. I'm like, jackknife? Like what? She's like, yeah, Grandma showed me how. What? Like, Mom, what are you doing? What are you doing? And all of a sudden you hear, like the old style police. Two New Jersey state troopers on her ass, pull her over. They yank her. Oh my God! I think this truck driver's trying to rape me. At this point, I'm not saying anything. She's like, I just got my boy in the car. This guy, and he's trying to. Oh my God! I was a little older. I was about 6 at the time. My brother wasn't. No, it was before my brother was born. She might have been pregnant with him at the time. Might have been at that point, because when she was pregnant with him, whoo, and she was crazy anyway, but that might have been. As a matter of fact, she was, and it was a summer day. We're going down to my grandparents' house because they had a pool, my father's parents. That's where it was. It was on the parkway. It was on the Garden State Parkway that had happened on the way to my grandparents' house while my mother was pregnant with my brother. And she was well along pregnant. She was probably about 7 months pregnant, 8 months pregnant at the time. And she was trying. I'm like, and it was the first time I ever heard that term. We're gonna jackknife. And when she was trying to jackknife her, she's like, oh, because that would be something her mother would have done and shown her how to do. Because you didn't cross these women. If you crossed these women, they would fucking put a curse on you. If you looked at my grandmother wrong, she would go out and key the shit out of your car and laugh about it. Like that type of. So it's like that type of revenge. So once again, these troopers had her stopped. They're like, we're just trying to. She's like, I was just trying to protect them. Now this is the 70s. She's like, I was just trying to protect my child, and this guy was coming. And they bought her story, and they radioed ahead and stopped it. I don't know what happened to the truck driver. Okay, I don't know what happened to the truck driver. All I know is she was laughing again. And she used the tears to get out of it. As Your narcissist probably uses tears to get out of a lot of things in your life. And it was not only with police, it was obviously in arguments with me or with ever. They will always start breaking out the emotions, the histrionics. But if you ever look at the narcissist crying, they're tearless cries. They're cries with no tears, which is your first indicator that they're full of it. And they only use the crying as a weapon, as a means of guilt to get you to conform and to do what you want them to do. My father learned the same trick. It took him many years because when he was in his younger, he was too macho, I guess, to cry. But once he got into his 50s and he started with the fake waterworks too. Every time my father gets to a point in an argument where it's obvious he's in the wrong, he'll go to the fake, he'll find some fake issue that he'll start crying over that makes no sense. And then when you call him on it, then he'll snap right into the direct rage. And I've heard from so many of you, and a lot of your stories are the same deal, where they go from sweet to crying to rage. The tears are nothing more than another stage of their manipulation. It's one of their most effective ones because it actually makes them look like they have some empathy. It makes them look like, oh, well, oh my God, this person who never has empathy is crying now because of something I did. I'm a piece of shit. And that's exactly why they're doing it, because that's what they want you to think. The tears are fake. The tears aren't real. And if there is a real tear, it isn't for you. It isn't for anybody else. The only time they cry real tears is for themselves. Absolutely. Because the only time I ever see actual tears come out of my mother's eyes, okay, was at the very end when she realized I'm done. And then the tears are for the loss. You might see tears at the end once your abuser realizes the gig is up and they've given up, you'll see those tears. But the tears aren't for guilt or for the tears are for themselves over the loss of their own narcissism and their narcissistic control, because that's what was feeding them. That's what they live for. I've seen so many people, and I've had so many people tell me, I've gone back after seeing my mother cry or my father cry, and I just couldn't. And I've made the same mistake. One of those times I went no contact. The reason why I stopped was because my father just started crying in the chair for no reason. And I'm like, holy shit, I made this guy. And it was an act. All it was another tactic. It was just another tactic to get what they wanted. Don't be fooled by it. Okay, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Please feel free to share it, subscribe if you haven't, and like, and feel free to comment as well. Until next time, this is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching.